Humble D&D enthusiasts, did you know that it is possible to truly summon demons using D&D source material? Let me demonstrate. Come forth, you foul demons. Serve me. Crap! Didn't work. I forgot. You can't use magic in a zero magic environment. Are you getting ready to run a low magic D&D setting campaign? If so, you're not going to want to miss this video. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. Let's dive in. Good morning, awesome D&D people. Welcome back to GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'm the GM Philosopher. Today we're talking about running a low magic D&D campaign. Now, I've created a guide specifically for this with my personal custom rule set that I would use to run low magic. I have run low magic in the past. I haven't done it in a while, but this is the rule set I would use today. And I created these and I'm going to share them with you. Now, you can download this rule set and you can follow along. I'm including the PDF in the description, so grab that and you can read it and have it as a source as I go through these rules. But I'm going to tell you exactly what the rules are. And I'm going to tell you what step number one is. If you want to run low magic using D&D system, the first thing you have to do is you have to decide the magic level. This is the very first step. Now, there are basically two different types. There's zero magic and there is low magic. Now, this video is mostly about how to run a low magic campaign, not a zero magic campaign. So I'm just going to talk very briefly about zero magic. Basically, you have two different choices. You can either basically cut out all of the classes that have any magic dependency. So really any classes that at all give you any kind of spells, like spellcaster levels, you can just rule those out. Or you can go with my preferred method, which is actually you can use those classes, but it's not very intuitive to do so because they're kind of a waste because you lose so much of the class because they don't get their spells, but you can include them. In my PDF guide, I basically said just rule them out and just run a fighter and then like give them skills to help them do other things. I think that's the most efficient way to do it, but you can kind of do it both ways. In any case, basically any classes you're going to allow need to get completely stripped of any magical abilities, any spells, anything that magic helps to do. There are some cases where this might be a little bit tricky. For example, bardic inspiration. I feel like it's not inherently clear whether that is an ability that would exist outside of a magical framework. Personally, I interpret that to be a magical ability, but whatever. All right. Now, with that being said, zero magic is exactly what it sounds like. Zero magic. There is no magic. There are just abilities and skills and talents and, you have gear and that's all it is. So now let's dive into low magic and how to run it. Now, low magic basically means this. Magic exists, but it is rare, unpredictable, and often unreliable. Magical items are scarce and spellcasting is challenging. Players can attempt to cast spells, but must overcome the environment's resistance to magic. Magic items require activation checks to function and may fail in low magic areas. Ever magical items with like passive magical abilities, for example, ever burning torches, simply would not function in a low magic environment in any degree. And the reason for this is because they require a consistent conduit of magic that is simply not supplied in a low magic setting. The problem with a low magic setting is that there is very small amounts of magic. Sometimes there's none at all. Imagine plugging in a lamp, turning on your light bulb, and having the lamp work. It'll only do this if there's a steady supply of electricity. But if the supply of electricity is either severely weakened or it's intermittent, that lantern at best is just going to flicker a little bit. It's probably not going to work at all if it's not getting a good strong current ever. This is why I always say passive magic and ever magical items like ever burning torches simply do not function in a low magic environment. Now, let's move on and talk about determining the magic resistance category. To fine-tune the level of magic in your campaign, you can select a category from 1 to 5, with each category representing a different intensity of magic suppression or magic loss or just magic non-existence. And personally, if I'm going to run a low magic campaign, I'm going to select one of 5 different categories. There's category 1, which is slightly low magic, category 2, which is moderately low magic, category 3, which is significantly low magic, category 4, which is extremely low magic, and category 5, which is very near 0 magic. There's hardly any magic. In category 1, magic is almost at normal levels. Spellcasting is generally reliable but may fail occasionally. Category 2, magic is noticeably weakened. In category 3, magic is rare and often unreliable. Category 4, magic is scarce and difficult to use. And in category 5, magic is almost non-existent. So I'm going to explain how these categories factor into the rules. And basically, I have come up with like a rule set for spellcasting mechanics in low magic settings. I'm going to share that with you. And once again, you can grab that PDF in the description to have this. And it's just free. You can grab it. And this might help you to like have this, print this out and put it at your table. But I'm going to explain it a little bit. So here is how this would go. Spellcasting mechanics in low magic settings would be as such. In a low magic environment, using magic intentionally, whether it's with an item or a spell, requires overcoming the world's resistance to magic with a spellcasting check. Okay. Now, you need to roll a spellcasting check anytime, like any character attempts to cast a spell or activate a magical effect. So in other words, if there's a wizard and they're trying to cast a spell, they would have to, the very first thing they do before they do anything else, they have to literally make a spellcasting check to see if they can even summon the power to make it work. If they fail the check, they lose the action and the spell. It's just a fail. If they make it, they get to cast the spell. Okay, that's basically how it works. Now, how do you roll a spellcasting check? So you roll it by rolling a d20 and adding your spellcasting ability modifier and proficiency bonus. So for example, this would be your intelligence mod if you're a wizard plus your proficiency bonus. This is how I do it. And it would be wisdom for clerics and so on and so forth. Now, what is the spellcasting DC calculation? So to determine this, we need to take the spellcasting DC base, which is 10. We multiply the magic category times 2, and we add that to the DC. And then we take the spell's level and we add that to the DC. So what we have, let's talk about casting Magic Missile in a category 5 low magic environment. So the base save is going to be 10. The category 5 low magic environment, which is the most severe low magic, means that it's going to take 5 multiplied by 2. So it's going to be 10. If we're in a category 1 environment, this check would be 2 additional. And that's the difference between a category 1 and category 5. So a category 1 setting, it would be a base DC of 12 plus the level of the spell, which is 1, which is 13. So in a base, like category 1 setting, we would have 10 plus 2 plus 1, 10 being the base, 2 being category 1 times 2, and then 1 being the level of the spell. And that gives us 13 DC. That's what the wizard would have to make in order to achieve the spell casting. Now, in a category 5 environment, it would be like this: 10 plus 5 times 2, which would be 10. So we have 20 plus the level of spell, which is 1. So it would be 21. So the spell check DC in a category 5 magical environment would be 21 for a magic missile. And the wizard would have to make that. So you can see that that's significantly more difficult. You can increase it even more to have lower magic. Like you could make a category 6, category 7, whatever. But personally, if it's me, if I'm going to have a campaign with magic suppression below a category 5, I'm just going to make it a 0 magic campaign personally. That's why I only went up to category 5 in my PDF. Cantrips are considered 0 for this calculation, but they still need to be rolled on. So for example, let's say prestidigitation. Wizard wants to cast prestidigitation. They need to make, so the spell check DC would be 10 plus 2 times the category. So let's say it's category 5, so it'd be 10. So that's going to be 20 plus the level of the spell is 0 for a cantrip. So it's going to be a spell check DC of 20 just to cast prestidigitation. Now, take into account a spell like Wish, 9th level spell. In a category 5 environment, we have 10 plus the 10 for the category 5 times 2, plus 9 for the level of the spell. So now we have 29 spell check DC just to roll a wish spell. And I would count natural 20s as a success all the time. So there's always a chance they could succeed, even if their stats are very low. So I would call the activation of magical items the same way. So let's take, for example, the difference between 2 different types of weapons. Let's say that there's a sword that you can activate it to make you invisible for 1 minute. Okay. Now, the way that the character would need to do this is in order to activate the sword, they would literally need to make the spell check DC. If their character is not a spellcasting class, in other words, if it's like a fighter, then I would basically default to probably intelligence or wisdom, whichever is higher for them, and let them try to use that as the spell save. Actually, I'd include charisma. So either intelligence, wisdom, or charisma, one of those to use it. But what I would say is they have to make that spell check DC. Otherwise, the activation of the item fails and they lose that action, and that's just it. It just fails because that's the sucks to suck in a low magic environment. Now, let's take, for example, a sword that has a constant magical +3, like a +3 magic longsword, always +3 to hit and +3 to damage. My ruling for this weapon would be that the +3/+3 static effect doesn't work because it's not getting a consistent stream of magic and it's not an activatable effect. Instead, it would default down to a masterwork longsword, which means that it's going to get a +1 to hit and a +1 to damage, and that's it. So magic items like that become much less useful in the low magic setting. So that's how you would use magical items and activate magical items in a low magic set. Now let's take a minute and talk about the impact this would have on gameplay and world building. A low magic setting significantly affects both the gameplay and the world within your campaign. So there is going to be an increased importance of non-magical skills. So for example, medicine checks. Healing through medicine will become crucial. You'll want to encourage players to invest in the medicine skill and carry healer's kits. And the reason for this is because cure light wounds ain't going to be as reliable as it used to be, right? Herbalism and alchemy, creating poultices, remedies, and alchemical items gains prominence. And when I say alchemical items, it can't be magical items. Goodbye, magical potions. What we have are old school, get you some herbs and make a tincture. And this is going to become a very important skill in a low magic campaign. Martial skills are going to become very important. Combat will rely more on physical prowess, tactics, and weapon mastery. The bow and arrow or the crossbow, suddenly being able to hit enemies at a distance, is going to become way more powerful because we're not going to have lightning bolts and magic missiles flying around willy-nilly. Survival and hunting is also going to become really important. Gathering food, tracking, and wilderness survival will become essential skills because you won't have magic to kind of pad those experiences. You won't be able to just get magical abilities that will help you deal with life in the wilderness. Tool proficiencies will also become really important. Emphasizing the use of tools like thieves' tools, carpenter's tools, and smith's tools is going to really replace a lot of what used to be done with magic. Finding a magic item that's not going to be the thing anymore. The thing now is going to be creating yourself an axe or creating other people axes and then selling them for money. Like, it's just going to, even the economy of the game and the value players can derive from it is going to change based on the low magic nature of it. And this leads us to another thing, slower progression for spellcasters. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you how I handle this in my world, but let me just go over the basics of this. So in a low magic setting, even if it's only slightly low magic, there's going to be difficulty in leveling up for the vast majority of spellcasters. Spellcasters may progress slower due to challenges in practicing the craft. Multi-classing could be encouraged. Players might consider multi-classing into martial or skill-focused classes, alternate class features. You could offer non-magical class feature options or reflavor existing ones to fit the setting. For example, I might give someone the ability to have an animal companion, but it's not based on any kind of magic, right? I may give a wizard the ability to make extended, bigger, better knowledge checks and history checks so that the wizard can use their study of books for something other than spellcasting, right? They may become more like a historian, someone with like deep knowledge of lore and history for the area, etc. These types of things might become more important. Now, with that being said, I'm not going to penalize players by like making it harder for them to level up with spells. However, I believe that if you choose a higher category difficulty, it's going to really cause them to rethink, do I want to really level up to a level 20 wizard? I might want to go level 5 wizard and then go 15 levels in fighter. The reason being is because if I go high levels as wizard, how often will I actually get to cast my spells? And that's what I'm investing in, right? So you can cap that. You could say only level 5 spellcasting classes, and then that's like all you have to multi-class into a non-magical class, or that's all you get for spellcasting levels. That's another thing. You could limit the level of spells. Personally, I don't like to do that. I feel like that's a little dirty. I like to let the players have that control over their destiny. But you could cap in a low magic setting the like level of the spells available to players even. That's another route you could take. And to be honest, that does make sense. You could say that your setting just literally doesn't supply the magic to cast, for example, level 5 or greater spells. This does make sense and is consistent. And if that's how you want to build your world, that's totally fine. I probably wouldn't do it that way, but it is an option. Here are some additional considerations to take into account. World state changes. Okay, there will be cultural shifts. Societies rely on technology, craftsmanship, and natural resources instead of magic a lot more. So you're going to see, cities developing more technology that's science-based. They're going to be building gears and pulleys, and they may even be trying to harness things like gunpowder. See, I think when magic starts to subside, we start to move into things like gunpowder and, even the beginnings of electricity, understanding electricity, that type of thing, right? There's also going to be economical differences. Magical items are going to be rare commodities, often priceless, or the stuff of legends. Okay, it's going to really, but they're also going to be relatively, they're not going to be useless, but it's more like collector's items from a bygone era, right? Another thing is religions and myths could change. Divine magic would be scarce. Deities may be distant or completely silent. This would affect clerics and paladins and religious belief altogether. Politics and power will also change. Organizations may rise to fill the void left by magic, such as guilds of engineers or alchemists, or even more like humanoidist eccentric religions where like humanoids would raise to like godlike prominence. You would see maybe humanoids being worshipped, or even large animals instead of gods in like the pantheon. And this leads to another thing that you'd want to decide about, like, what about the existence of magical monsters and creatures? There's a big difference between a zero magic world or low magic world where there are not really any magical creatures. For example, no dragons, no beholders, etc., or a setting where more naturalistic versions of these creatures do exist. So a beholder would be an example of something that probably wouldn't exist in a very low magic setting because beholders rely so much on magic for their abilities. But a dragon, so the thing about a dragon is that you could rule that its breath weapon is natural. You could take away any magical abilities, and it is still a potent, formidable beast, and it's way more difficult to destroy without magic. So you could have it to where if you have dragons roaming, this may cause dragons to breed out of control and like own the top layer. So you could have, for example, humanoid clans living underground. The surface level is ruled by dragons because they cannot be countered, really. It's so dangerous to go up there because when magic fell, you had these, cities, but then there's no magic. Dragons started overpopulating and taking over, right? So these are kinds of like the types of things I would think about when going into like a low magic campaign. Speaking of that, if you feel like you struggle with plot arcs for those types of things, you should download my Ultimate Plot Randomizer. It is a free ebook. Link is in the description. When you join my email list, this will get delivered to you in your first email. You can roll random plot arcs, unlimited random plot arcs for days using 4 D100 tables, roll the hook, the conflict, the conclusion, and add wild and wacky stuff to it. So if you need some plot hooks, plot arcs, inspiration to help you beef up your low magic plots, I would recommend that you download that and use it. I would also recommend that you jump into my free Discord. There's a bunch of us in there. We're in there all the time hanging out, talking about D&D, sharing advice, running games, joining games, talking about the rules, talking about homebrewing systems very similar to this. Like, people are in there all the time. Lots of great GMs in there with a lot of experience. So if you like Discord and you like to talk about TTRPGs, jump on in at least to say hi. And you're going to want to maybe check out what's going on. And who knows, it may prove very helpful to you. So all I'm going to say at this point is that that's pretty much my 2 cents worth. And I'll give you a little conclusion here. Running a low magic D&D campaign offers a refreshing take on the traditional high fantasy setting. It challenges players to rely on their wits, skills, and teamwork rather than magical solutions. By adjusting the mechanics and focusing on world-building elements that emphasize the scarcity of magic, you create a unique and immersive experience for your players. Encourage your players to embrace the theme and together explore the rich stories that unfold in a world where magic is very rare and a precious commodity. And with that being said, that's all I got to say on that one. Thank you so much for coming by for another video. I'm here almost every day creating videos about the best game in the world, D&D. So I will see you awesome people on the next one.